Hello, I'm Jag from Jag's Watches and welcome back to another video. Now, I bet you if you asked 10 watch collectors what their favorite watch was, what their Grail watch was, I'd put money on all 10 of them giving you a different answer. A completely different answer. A Patek for one person, a G-Shock for another. And so it got me thinking, what actually makes a Grail watch a Grail? Today I'm going to break it down into 5 things that I think are crucial and I think play a part in making a Grail watch a Grail. Making it Grail worthy, I should say. And I'll be honest, I don't think it's got much to do with the brand or the price, even though I think they're contributing factors. But before I do get into it, make sure you like, subscribe and hit that bell icon. And I want you guys to take this moment now in the video to comment down below what your Grail watch is and why it is your Grail watch. Let me know the memories and the stories attached to it. I'd love to know. You know I read through all the comments down below, so I look forward to seeing them all. Now, let's get into it. Reason 1, I always talk about it, emotional connection. And I think this reason is why a Grail watch ends up being your Grail watch for a long period of time. So it sustains that prestige and sustains that sort of title of being your Grail watch. For me, this is the heart of a Grail watch. It's the memories you create with it. Maybe it reminds you of your wedding day. My Grail watch was bought for me for my wedding day. So it's that emotional connection and the people, the time, the memories attached to it that make it end up being my Grail watch. And I might be a little bit naive in saying this, but I feel like this watch would always be my Grail watch. And I know a lot of you in the comments have had different Grail watches at different times in your life, at different periods in your life, stages of your life, I should say. I think if a watch reminds you of a big milestone, a wedding day, or maybe it was just your dad's old watch, I think it's enough of a reason for a watch to become your Grail. Something personal. That emotional connection alone outweighs any spec sheet. I think Grails are all about meaning. So that's the first reason why. The second reason has something to do with price, and I've labeled it aspirational value. A Grail just has to feel out of reach, either financially or in terms of rarity. It's not an impulse buy, it rarely ever is with a Grail watch. It's one that you work towards. And I remember when the No Time to Die came out, I knew that was the watch. I was going to work, and when I was ready and able to get that watch, I was going to get it. It just so happened it was bought for me for my wedding, which made it even more special. But I think it has to be just out of reach. There needs to be something about it that makes it almost like a dream watch. I remember, for example, take the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. I have the Swatch version of that. It's just a little bit too far, but reachable if you work hard, and it's a milestone and a goal for you. So I think that is a part of the Grail experience, it being just out of reach, it being a little bit rare, being a little bit different, being a little bit more personal to you. So aspirational value, I think, is definitely one of the reasons why a Grail becomes a Grail. Now, moving on to section 3, which I call identity and story. I think a true Grail should reflect who you are or how you want to be seen to a certain extent. It's not just a watch. It's a part of your identity. Some people dream of the reverse, so because it's elegant and understated. Others want a Submariner because it's a symbol of rugged reliability. I think your Grail should speak your language, and this is why I think so many different people have different Grails, because everyone is unique and I think everybody has their own identity. And I guess subconsciously you then attach your identity to that watch. And so for me, this watch, being a No Time to Die, being a James Bond watch, growing up being a huge James Bond fan, a Daniel Craig fan, and the fact that he sort of had a huge part to play in designing this watch. He's a Liverpool fan as well. And I just absolutely love the aesthetic of this watch. Put on that, in fact, it was £9,500 at retail. I know it started less than that, but as of today, 2025, it is £9,500. At the time when it came out, when I was still in university, I think, it was just out of reach. It was that aspirational, if I work hard enough and if I deserve it, I'm going to get that watch and that's going to be a special day. And so this watch, I think, is a true representation of my identity. If I was a watch, it'd be this watch. And I think that is why it's my Grail. I hope some of you guys actually understand where I'm coming from. But I think it just has to speak your language. And the No Time to Die for me definitely does. Let me know in the comments if you agree with that reason. Now, section 4. I've labeled it timelessness. Now, the fourth thing is, I think, timeless design. I think a Grail watch needs to age like fine wine. It's not about trends when it comes to a Grail watch. Very rarely do I come across somebody's Grail being something that was very trendy for a couple of years and now has gone off trend. I think it's all about longevity, because deep down we know a Grail watch is going to hopefully be with us for the rest of our lives. And I think if you're going to love it in 20 years, it's probably a Grail. Again, I keep talking about the Seamaster because it's my Grail watch. I don't think this design will ever go out of style. I think it's a classic design. I think it's a timeless design. And I do think that's one of the reasons why it's my Grail. Let me know if you agree with that. Now, moving on to the last reason, which I think is probably the least important, at least for me, but I can understand why for certain people. Actually, do you know what? It is a little important for me. Exclusivity and rarity. A Grail usually has some level of exclusivity. Now, it doesn't have to be a limited edition. It doesn't have to be a special edition. I just think it's something that is hard to replace or hard to get in the first place. So, for example, we talked about emotional connection. If it was your dad or your granddad's watch, that ends up being your Grail watch, because nothing can ever replace that. And I do think the fact that this is a special edition, a little bit different from the other Seamasters out there, a little bit more premium, a little different, I think that added to the fact that I wanted it. I think the branding added to it as well, a little bit, with it being a James Bond watch. But that exclusivity, whenever anybody ever sees this watch, like, oh, what? It's the James Bond Seamaster, it's not just any Seamaster. So I do think that has a part to play. I would like to think that it's not one of the biggest reasons why, for me personally, but I can get that having a rare piece is pretty cool. And especially when you're in the right room and you've got watch enthusiasts in that room with you and they recognize it for that fact, it's a pretty cool feeling. It could even be like if the watch was discontinued or made in small numbers or it had a crazy wait list, a story attached to it, because when you had to wait for a huge amount of time to get a watch, when you had to do something special to get hold of the watch, I think a Grail shouldn't be an easy buy. It shouldn't be an easy find. And I think that's the point of a Grail, and that's what makes it end up being a Grail for a long time. But what does this all mean? So let's summarize. The first reason was emotional connection. I've talked about that a lot on the channel. Second was aspirational value, it being just out of reach, just out of your budget. It makes you wait a little bit, years, months, whatever. You can't get it straight away. Personal identity, it needs to speak your language. It needs to be a reflection of who you are and your identity, in my opinion. A timeless design. Why does it need to be a timeless design? Because a Grail, in my opinion, should be a Grail in 30, 40 years' time. I know some of you disagree with me on that one. And then the fifth reason, rarity and exclusivity. It needs to be a little bit special. Whether that's because of a wait list, whether it's because you have to travel across the world to have a look at it and get it, whether it's because it's your granddad's watch. It doesn't matter. I think rarity and exclusivity definitely has a part to play. So there you go. That is probably why no two Grails are the same or look the same. For some, it's a solid gold Rolex, and for others, it's a quirky vintage Seiko. The point is, and the bottom line is, it means something to you, and that's the beauty of it. If you haven't already, make sure you comment down below and let me know what your Grail watch is. Let me know why it's your Grail watch, and if you agree with the reasons I've given here as to what makes a Grail watch. And as usual, if you've liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe. I've been Jag from Jags Watches, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.